Hey guys, what's up? This is Simon from DevTactic. Today we will see how to gather images with Ionic, how to take them live or load them from your library, and we will load them into our app. We will store them into our local storage. We will present them. And finally, we will try to send out those media files by email. So let's get started with a blank Ionic app. We will need some Cordova plugins. So after our blank app is ready, we need to install, first of all, ng Cordova, and we also need some plugins. I already got them here, so I'm a bit lazy today. So we need the camera plugin, obviously, we need the file plugin, and finally we need the email composer plugin, which is of this smart guy, and this will help us to open a simple email client. Finally, I'm gonna add the iOS platform because I'm on a Mac and I can build for iOS. So if you're not on a Mac, mind that you can't build for iOS. Okay, let's get started with some code. Okay, we first of all include the scripts we need. So before Cordova.js, we need to include lib ng Cordova dist ng Cordova JS, and we will have some more files later in this tutorial, so I'm gonna already add them here because otherwise I will forget about them. So we will have some controllers and we will have services for our images and files. Okay, we can already add those files. So add the controllers.js and also add the services.js. Okay, perfect. So next we will go to our app.js and we will include the dependency to ng Cordova. Okay, so now we can use it and our app is ready to get implemented. Before we come to the real hard stuff, let's implement a simple view. So I'm gonna get rid of this, and I will have an ion content. Well, it can has header and some padding, and the ng controller will be the image controller. Inside our view we will just have two buttons, and the first button, well, let's use some styling, button full, and let's make it energized. And the ng click event for this button will call add media. Okay, that's our first button. The second one, let's make it positive because this is a positive video. So it's sent out email, and obviously this one will send the mail. Okay, so the button for our action is ready. Now, one cool thing I used in one of my apps, it's a Ion scroll with horizontal scrolling. So we need some custom styling at this point. So give it a height. I'm not completely sure which of those we really need, but I guess we need them all. I might try it. So overflow scroll and white space, no wrap. Okay, close it. And inside our ion scroll is an ng repeat of images, which will repeat over our scope images, which we will set later. And for every image, we will just get the file name of the media. So we're gonna call a function URL for image for every image to get the complete path so our image gets drawn correctly. And additionally, we have some more styling here. Okay. I don't think we need more at this point. And we can close it there. So that's a very simple view for our app. We don't need very much. We just need those two buttons and the array to display our images we have taken or loaded from the library. Okay, save it and let's go to our services. Obviously this file should also be inside our module, and the first thing we make here is a file service, which has not many, not many things to do, but he will have an array of images, and this one will be the image storage key. Set it to whatever you like, it's just forgetting something. And this service will return a function store image, which we'll call that. We will implement it soon. And also images, which returns some images. Not very hard at this point. So our file service is just to store and retrieve the files we have taken or saved. Okay, so the first function, let's make it get images to start from the beginning. So first of all, we try to load an array from the local storage. For the image storage key. And if this exists, we will have to set our local array to the image array we just loaded from the local storage. We need to parse it because we store it in a specific way, so you will see why later on. If we can't get any images from the local storage, we will just have an empty array at this point. So this function will always return an image. Okay, somehow my indentation got fucked up. I'm not sure why. Well, whatever. I don't mind at this. Yeah, okay, now it's fine. Perfect. So the second function we need to implement is the add image function. So when we've taken an image, we will pass it, or the reference or the name or whatever, to this function, and this will just push the image to the array of image names which our service already has. And also we will call the local storage to set an item for the image storage key, which will be JSON stringify our images array. So you can see when we add an image, we add it to the array and store it, and when we want to get all the images, we will get them from the local storage or an empty array if we don't have anything right now. So that's a very clean file service for our images. The next factory will be the image service, which takes care of everything to take images and handle all the stuff. So for this one we will have some dependencies. So we need the Cordova camera, and also we need the file service we just created. We will return a promise, and we need Cordova file to store the image files. Okay, let's start with a return statement, because this one will be very simple. So we just want to call handle media dialog on this factory, and this function will take care of the rest. So we are very happy to use this factory. You can copy it or go to my blog for the source code, and that's a very clean implementation. Okay, so we pass the variable type because we can take an image from the camera, or we can open the photo library, so we will offer this option to the user later. This function will return a promise, and this one will be resolved or rejected. And for all the options we need, we will create another function which will give us the right options dictionary for... Come on, stop those errors. So the options for type is very simple. You might have seen it somewhere in one of my other tutorials about images. We will just have a simple switch statement, and inside we will have the case where the type is 0. So we set the source to camera.picture source type camera, and if the type is 1, we will set the source to photo library. Yeah, I hope that's correct. Okay, so after our switch statement, we can return our object, which needs some more parameters like destination type, this line is important because we will get a file URI and not a base 64 object or whatever you can get at that point. And this is the source we just set. We don't want to allow to edit the image, this is not needed right now. we take JPEG encoding and we have the standard camera popover options, and finally we can say if we want to save to photo album, but we don't want this at this point. Okay, so back to our initial function save media. We will get our options now, and now we can call Cordova camera get picture based on the options we just created, and if it returns anything, hopefully an image URL, we need to proceed with some more actions. First of all, we need the name of the image. So we need to create a substring from image URL last index of /+1. So this will just be the name of the file. Okay, let's copy it. Now we need the path, which will be a substring from 0 to the last index of this. Maybe we could also have it in an array and take the first and the last one, but for now we'll leave it. And finally, we will have a new name, which will call a function you might know, make ID plus name, just to have a unique name for our file. Okay, so as I'm a bit lazy, here's our make ID function. I hope it's formatted correctly. No, obviously not. So I hope you're happy now. Yes. Okay, so this will return a unique name, and when we have this name, we can finally call Cordova file. At this point, this is a bit different to the last explanation I had for this image copying and stuff, but I think this one is much more easy. So please take Cordova file. This is just too simple. And we need to pass the path and also the name of the file we want to copy. And now we have to provide a file system, which will be Cordova file, the data directory. You can take a look at the ng Cordova documentation on what's all about. You can copy images or whatever files to other folders, but this is the private data folder of your app. I guess that's also a problem, and that's why it doesn't work that good on Android. But for now, we copy it to our apps folder and give it the new name. So when this is completed, we call another function which can now call our file service and say, please store the image we just created at that point. And also we can resolve our promise at this point. You can also have some error handling. So if anything goes wrong, we can reject the promise. So what we do when we call this handle media dialog with a type, we open the picker with the camera or with the photo library, we get this image, we create a new name for it, and we copy it from his old directory into our apps directory into a new name, and finally store it to our images array and local storage. So just by calling this function we have achieved a lot. So I hope this is a very clear service and easy structure for you to handle. Okay, now the last part, our controller. Our controller, well, in fact, has some dependencies. So let's start with scope. Oh, okay, maybe we don't need all of them. I'm not completely sure, but okay, we need them. Yeah, Cordova device, we need Cordova file again. We need the Ionic platform. We need the Cordova email composer. And we need Ionic action sheet. And I'm not sure if we need, yeah, obviously we need our image service and finally the file service. Okay, so we had two functions inside our view. So let's start with the most simple one, the add media function. Oh, come on. And this one will call our Ionic action sheet, which is a pretty cool way to offer. I'm so lazy today, sorry for this. So inside our action sheet we will have an array of 2 buttons, and the first one will be to take a photo, and the second one will simply be the photo from a library. So if you don't know what this looks like, you will see it when we launch the app very soon. So we can give it a title name, let's say add images. Additionally, we can also give it a cancel text. Cancel. And finally, if a button was clicked, we call scope add image based on the index pressed. Okay, not very hard at this point. Let's head to the next one, which was add image. And at this point we already have the type we used in the last part. So we call hide sheet to hide our sheet, obviously, and now we can call the image service and say no typos at this point. Handle media dialog based on the type we just selected, and as this returns a promise, we hope to get a result, and we apply those changes to update our view. Okay, so right now this would already work quite fine, but there's one more thing. We want to show those images already when we start our app, and we need to wait for the Ionic platform ready function, because at this point we can be sure that all those plugins are ready we want to use. So if we try to load the images from the local storage before, we will not have any fun and won't get any good results. So wait for the ready function, and at this point say file service images to get all the images we have stored or not stored. Okay, and one thing we have forgotten is the URL for image function, because currently, or in this implementation, I just store the name of the file. So that's fine, but we need to make sure to add the complete path, which is Cordova file data directory, if you remind it, plus the image name. So okay, I'm a hero, I can also return it just. Okay, so our view should get all the correct URLs for the images now. And we have the add media and image function, and now we come to the last part, which is sending out email. I'm a bit mad at this point because I got the implementation for iOS in like 10 minutes, and then there was Android, and I was on this for about 4 or 6 hours, and I nearly got mad because it just sucked so much. So let's make a long story short. The email plugin cannot access the images from the folder where we have copied our images to. So this app folder, I'm not sure why this is on Android. Maybe you can leave a comment or tweet me why this is. I always thought Android was very open for things like this, but obviously this is a problem for Android, and that's why I needed a little ugly fix at some point, because I was not able to get it working in any way. So you will see the ugly hack very soon, but let's start with the basics. If we have some images in our array, we want to send them out. So we take the scope images we currently have. I already open up the Cordova device switch at this point, and if it's Android, we need to perform some bullshit stuff. So just to show you how fast it was for iOS, it's just like this. It already makes me again sad when I type this. Okay, and that's all we need for iOS. Very sad, very sad. Okay, so finally, please shut up. Okay, finally I invented another function, which is open email composer with our images array. And this one, oh come on. This will finally open the email composer and do stuff. Well, we might already, no, okay, let's go back to Android because it's so much fun. Okay, so as I said, I had to find a solution, and the solution I have is to copy all the files from our app directory to a directory which can be accessed by the email composer, and finally when the mail gets sent out we delete those files. Okay, call me an idiot, call me whatever. This was the solution I got for this. If you have a better plan, please let me know. I hope there's some other way out there. Oh fuck this, I'm gonna copy it. So the name is again the image URL and the name path is again 0 to this point. Okay, so happy. Let's call Cordova file, copy file, and the name path, the name, and we use now the Cordova file external root directory. So this is your external card inside your Android device if you have one. If you don't have one like I did, then you might see the file appearing inside your root folder. That's not very cool, but as it gets deleted afterwards, I think we're fine. Maybe you should make sure when you delete those files that you don't delete, well, anything of your root directory which you don't want to delete. So finally, okay, so this will just take the image at the first position because that's an asynchronous task to copy it, and I don't want to explode the size of this article to have a loop for asynchronous tasks and wait for finish them. So that's left to you guys. So if you found a solution for that, I would be happy if you let me know. So in that case, I would include them into my tutorial on DevTactic. Okay, so the last thing we need to do is open our email composer, okay, whatever, and pass the mail images, which at this point will obviously be only one image, but well, whatever, that's life. Okay, at this point I could also, oh, what am I doing? I don't know. Rage again. Okay, so when we have copied this file to the external directory or the root or whatever, we can push the new path to the mail images and call the email composer. Now finally, this one is very standard. You might have seen it in the other tutorial I had about this. So we can give in some HTML if you like to. That's obviously optional. And now we have our email. We have to whatever, some email.com. You can include many more things. Just take a look at the plugin on GitHub. And we will have our attachments. We can give it a subject like DevTactic images. We can pass our body text and finally say is HTML true. At this point some of you had problems because they have written like this. I don't know if this might be a problem on Linux or something like that, but on a Mac you're fine with this. So the last thing we need to do now is call the Cordova email composer. I hopefully have no typo. And call the open function for the email we just created. And in the callback, the glory comes to its end. So at this point, we need to make sure to delete all the files we have just copied. So get the name, and get the last index again and again. And finally call Cordova file remove file, or maybe there's a security mechanism which prevents from deleting your root directory. I hope there is. And so when the email composer is done, we go through all our attachments and we get the true name and try to remove the file at the position we copied it to. So I'm not very proud of this solution, but well, it works. So we have done a lot. We have created a simple view with 2 buttons and an array and a horizontal scrolling. We have this beautiful file service which stores and retrieves our images, and we have this huge image service which handled just everything we need to be handled, and finally the controller. So I'm a bit sad I can not show you the email functionality, but okay, so there's a problem. Okay, so finally it might be working now. Let's take a beautiful picture. And here it is. Well, perfect. Let's take another one. Yeah. So we got this very cool horizontal slider, which is just a nice bonus for you inside this video tutorial. So I'm sorry I cannot send a mail because the Cordova plugin is not working in the simulator. I recommend you take a look at my blog, because at the preview image there's a picture of the email composer, and I tried this tutorial on iOS and on Android. So please make sure you have no typos like me at some stupid positions. And yeah, well, I hope you enjoyed this video tutorial and you can now create your own app with some image handling. And if you have any more to say, or if you want to leave a feedback or implement one of those functions we talked about, I would be very happy to hear of you. So stay tuned, follow my channel for more JavaScript, Angular, Ionic, mobile, whatever tutorials, and I hope I'll see you next time.